Another season of Panthers training camp is beginning. We have our day one here, Julian Council with Locked On Panthers, joining us for yet another year. Julian, there's a bit of a somber feeling, though, as we're coming off of this first day. The big story, Nic Scourton, all of a sudden, he is down. The entire team is around him, and he gets carted off. We don't have all the answers as of right now, but just his impact of what he was able to do last year as a rookie and maybe the expectations for him coming into this year, it seems like it would be a massive loss.
Yeah, and it was already pretty cloudy, figuratively and literally, here in Charlotte coming into camp, knowing that Taylor Moton was not going to be available, Ike Ekwonu not going to be available, knowing you're also going to be without Turk Wharton and Bobby Brown III, and now for this to happen, not ideal for a Panthers team that brought in Jalen Phillips, one of the coup signings of the offseason, hoping to pair him with Nic Scourton, Prince Muamielen, and Pat Jones, and now they're sitting in a situation where they may be without Scourton the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see the imaging later on this afternoon, whether it is indeed significant. It is a right knee injury. And just watching his reaction, players know when there's a significant injury that they're going to be out long term. Had his hand in his face, certainly a lot of emotion. The team, they stopped practice, everyone going over to dap him up. Tough to see. And you feel for the guy because such a great guy to talk to, such a great guy, great personality, but also huge kind of player that they need for the season. And now they're facing a real possibility that he may not be there for at least the short term, maybe the long term.
And Dave even talked about it a little bit after when we spoke with him, too, that it speaks so much to the volumes of this team and the camaraderie of watching everyone stop practice and stop for a guy like Nick. I'm sure it would have been for just about anyone on this team. But what does that kind of say about the togetherness of this locker room coming in just on day one of training camp, that everyone is really rallying behind a player when they go down for injury?
Yeah, it's a reminder for everybody out there that these are human beings first and foremost. And yes, they play a game together, but they care about each other far more than what happens out there on the field. And Dave talked about how guys worry about how Nick's doing, not about what this means for the team, whether he's going to be out there for the rest of the season. And that extends to what's been going on with Taylor Moton and his medical issues. Ike Ekwonu, all those guys have constantly discussed how close they are, how much they care about each other. And it's a great sign to see. It's disappointing that you have to see that on day one of training camp because of such an injury like this. So they're clearly tight. You just hope that this is not going to continue to happen to this team.
So with Taylor's injury, you just mentioned, we just learned earlier this week that he was diagnosed with blood clots in his lungs. Yeah. So instead of him, as of right now, it sounds like they're going to be going with the rookie out of Georgia, first-round pick, Monroe Freeling. Monroe is a guy who they brought in knowing that he could play pretty much anywhere on the offensive line. They liked his versatility and his athleticism. What did we learn today from Dave about where he's going to be kind of filling in for Taylor and the decision of having him play on the right?
Well, we did learn that he was not going to come in and immediately be the starter. Dave had a conversation with him that he wanted him to go out there, compete, and earn it. And now they're in a situation where he has to play right tackle. It was actually funny. Dave mentioned to us that Rob Hunt, the starting right guard here in Carolina, had actually been recruiting Monroe to go out and play right tackle next to him and eventually probably be the replacement to Taylor Moton, however long he stays here in Carolina. And now that's happening as Taylor is out with the blood clots. And Taylor's there with him on the side, be able to coach him up, which is a great luxury for them to have. But Monroe said that it's going to kind of take him a little bit of time to get used to it. He played mainly left tackle at Georgia last couple seasons, played a little bit of right. They certainly cross-trained him back during OTA's mandatory minicamp back in the spring to play both sides. But now he's going to be focused right there. They're not going to move him around. They want him to be ready to go week one. And it's a tough situation to be in. But Carolina used the 19th overall pick on him for a reason, and now we're going to get to see what that reason is.
I mean, if you're Monroe and you're dealing with this, or if you're any of those guys in that offensive line room, what is that like when all of a sudden you think you're on one trajectory and it kind of ramps up out of control? Like, do you think from what you heard from Monroe up there that he's going to be ready for the moment, at least in terms of confidence and mentally, that he'll be ready to step in?
I don't think he has a choice but to be ready, very clearly. But, yeah, look, he's a guy who comes from a program at Georgia where oftentimes in college with the changing landscape, there's not a lot of programs. There still is one down in Athens, Georgia under Kirby Smart. So he's been in a situation where he's had to step up because of injuries in the past when he was down at Georgia, had to do so his sophomore year late in the season when he took over as a starter at left tackle. And he went through some of the ups and downs, especially in that Sugar Bowl game against Notre Dame, and he was better for it last season. So it's not like the first time he's ever stepped in a situation. Now, a little bit different to step in midseason than your first snap really as a guy, as a rookie in training camp. But I do think that he exuded the confidence, and I think that the background of where he comes from Georgia, and having that first-round pedigree, that he will be able to step in. And, of course, there's going to be moments. Ike Ekwonu had his moments, and he was a top 10 pick. Monroe Freeling's going to have his moments as well. You just hope that it's not going to be anything that can prevent the team from being able to have success offensively.
If we're talking confidence, let's move over to Bryce Young as he's going into his 4th season with this team. Once again, coming in as the starting quarterback this time around, it feels like there is more confidence that we're seeing out of him, just hearing from him too, as he has more of a grasp on this team, getting to know his weapons that he works alongside, and just having the confidence from that staff and front office that this is a guy that they want to have maybe for the long term. What do you kind of get out of Bryce as he's entering his 4th season?
I think he can finally breathe.
Yeah.
You think about his rookie year, it was not great. Head coach and Frank Reich only lasted 11 games, multiple play caller changes. The offensive line was a disaster. Receivers were a disaster. Then his first year under Dave back in 24, he gets benched after a couple weeks. And last year really felt like the first time things were normal for Bryce. Yes, he had the 1 week where he missed against Buffalo because of the injury, but other than that, he was the undisputed starter. He went out there, made a lot of good plays down the stretch, and really was an additive for this team to win the division and to be right there in that playoff game right here in the stadium back in January. Now he comes in with the 5th-year option for next year. He has that security. He has the understanding of this offense heading into year 3, even with Brad Didzik now being the play caller for them, to where he knows what he has to do. He knows what this team needs to do to have success this season. So it really feels like he can just not really have a bunch on his shoulders. He can just breathe and be that leader for them. And I think he's going to take a step this season and be close to what Carolina's hoping that he can be for them long term.
Carolina is coming off of being division champs for the first time in quite some time. They hosted a playoff game for the first time in a decade as well. There's something to say about momentum, but there's also something to say about it's a brand new year. Yesterday we heard Dan Morgan say that the veterans came in with a little bit more energy, wanting to build off of last year. What do you want to see out of this Panthers team? It's a new group as they're hoping to, raise that bar even higher.
Yeah, I saw a stat the other day how they spent the majority of last season playing from behind. I would like for that to not be the case. I don't think they're going to be able to win 8 more than that games this season if that continues to be a trend for them this upcoming year. You'd like for them to be able to find a pass rush, something that they have not had in recent years. Certainly, they have the talent, and I think now defensively with Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, you look at Devin Lloyd coming over, Jalen Phillips, at every level of this defense, there can be a guy who can be a stud, potentially an all-pro type of player. And offensively, you want to be able to see them push the ball down the field. They've not really done that a lot. Explosives have been kind of missing a lot of times in this offense, so you want to be able to see them stay on schedule, be able to have that consistency week to week, which has not really been there. But you also want them to have that confidence. Because last year they snuck up on teams like Green Bay. They're not going to be able to do that this year when they go to Lambeau Field. They are not going to be able to sneak up on the Rams. Everybody knows that this Panthers team won a division last year. Tiebreakers aside, doesn't really matter. They won the division. They earned it. And they also understand that it's the Panthers team that added more talent. There's real expectation. So how can they handle that? Because when they had an opportunity late last season to take care of it by themselves, not need Atlanta there in Week 18 to help them out, they failed each and every time. Can they handle the weight of expectations and be able to take care of business by themselves, or were those lessons that they did not learn at the end of last year that will carry over this season?
That's why this is just day one. We're going to have lots more here through training camp. Julian, thanks so much. We'll be back here tomorrow with you, right?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you again tomorrow.